Good evening. Oh. Good evening, National Press Club. Hey, I'm going to start this off. Welcome to the National Press Club. I'm Lisa Nicole Matthews. I am the planning editor for U.S. News at the Associated Press. Yeah, I get some of that AP love in the house. And a past president of this illustrious institution known as the National Press Club. It's the place where news happens. I am so honored to be your host for this evening as we honor Eileen O'Reilly. Yeah. Your 116th president of the National Press Club. So I know many of you look forward to this evening at the start of every year. So now that you've got your favorite drink and you've found your seat, let's get this party started. Okay, so first I'd like to acknowledge the sponsors of tonight's event who showed up in a major way this year. Major, okay. Our platinum level sponsors. Axios. As well as Murray and Murray. All right. Our gold level sponsors, Bloomberg. The Drage family. That's right, get this a family affair at the Press Club. Our silver sponsors, Bell Flight, Home Health Connection, Marquette University, all right now, and Taiwan's representative office here in Washington, D.C. We also have our bronze level sponsors, the Associated Press, GM Defense, and General Dynamics. A really big thank you to each of these organizations for supporting the National Press Club, for supporting Eileen, and for supporting responsible journalism, okay? So you may not know this, but the National Press Club is governed by a dedicated group of volunteers, okay, who give of their time and expertise. So let's acknowledge this fantastic group. The 2023 National Press Club Board of Governors, if you're a governor, not of a state, please, just of the Press Club, okay, please stand. Got some back there, one back there, over there. Over there. Yes. Thank you for all of your hard work and the time you give to the club. Folks don't volunteer like they used to. I'm telling you, volunteers are dedicated at the Press Club, so we love it. Now, it's time to introduce the past presidents of the National Press Club who are in attendance tonight. So, past presidents, please stand when I say your name, if you can. Frank Okafor, 1978. Yeah. All right now, Greg Spears, 1992. Yeah, there he is. Clayton Boyce, 1993. Yeah, in the back. Moving up now, Gil Klein, 1994. Gil, where are you? Oh, yes, there you go. Tammy Lytle, 2003. Yes, 2003. That was a good year. Jonathan Salant, 2006. Yes, and a former APer, or forever APer. Donna Laiwan Leger, 2009. Yeah. Markety Mark Hambone Hamrick, 2011. Yes. Yes. John Hughes, 2015. Yes. Jeff Ballou, 2017. I'm missing my lollipop tonight, but Allison Kojak, 2019. Allison, where are you? Yeah, there you are, at the AP table. Yours truly, 2021. And Jen Javelin Judson, 2022. Yes. Got to give it up for the past presidents. You don't even know when you have that job. It's like, who did I miss? Oh, Angela Greiling King was not on my list. Angela Greiling King. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, so I was going to say, when you're president of the press club, you've got like, not 2 jobs. You got like 4 jobs. 4 jobs. It's crazy, okay? And I also want to say thank you to the staff who worked so hard to put this event together tonight. Our AV team in the back, our banquet staff, the fantastic culinary team led by our executive chef, Mo, am I going to get this wrong? Aguilera. Yeah. Our membership director, Kate Helster, and of course, executive director, Bill McCarron. None of this would be possible without them, and I got to say, we appreciate you. Now, before we go any further, I have to show you this letter that recently arrived at the club. Can we get that up on the screen, guys? There it is. It reads, and I can't do his voice, but I'm going to try. No, I'm joking. Dear Eileen, I offer my heartfelt congratulations on your election as the 116th president of the National Press Club. I have always believed that good journalism holds up a mirror to society to reflect on the good, the bad, and the true, and that work is more important now than ever before. I am confident that your decades-long career in journalism, spanning stints on 3 continents and covering everything from politics to biotechnology, will drive forward the club's important work of strengthening the media community both at home and abroad. Congratulations again on this distinguished honor. I wish you the best of luck. Sincerely, President Biden. Not everybody gets a letter from the president, people. And with that in mind, and the spirit of smart brevity, and all that is Axios, I want to thank y'all for coming out tonight. Have a good evening. Good night, everybody. Okay, it was smart brevity, but I guess it's not smart when you haven't eaten yet, right? Okay, all righty. We have now come to the part of the program where I'm like supposed to roast Eileen or something like that. But I gotta tell you, she's so polished. She's literally so flawless. It is really a hard thing to do. Eileen has been great at literally everything she has done for the club. She was a fantastic treasurer during my time as president, and an even better vice president under Jen Judson. She is always thinking how to improve our situation here at the club, and I can guarantee you, okay, that will continue during her term as president. You're awesome, Eileen. A few of Eileen's friends, though, other than me, and colleagues, they couldn't be here to celebrate in person tonight, so let's hear from them.
Hi, I'm Sarah Feldner. I'm Dean of the Dietrich College of Communication at Marquette University. I'm here in our newsroom. It's quiet now, but I assure you by this evening it will be filled with students who aspire to be like you, the next generation of investigative journalists. I'm very sorry I can't be there with you today personally, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to send my greetings and my congratulations to Eileen O'Reilly as she is inaugurated as the next president of the National Press Club. We are so very proud of her work, how she carries the banner for Marquette journalism and its tradition of doing journalism that matters. We look to her as an example as we train the next generations of investigative journalists. And while journalism is why we're here to honor her tonight, it's not where she started here at Marquette. We are explorers here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Eileen explored all that a liberal arts tradition has to offer, and she started in biology. She spent time in the lab with petri dishes until she realized she really liked the human experience better. She wanted to find a way to take the work of the lab and put it into the lives of people, and she did that through journalism. So while journalism was not her first major, it was her love, and it's where she blossomed and truly excelled. And she went on to leave a lasting legacy at Marquette. In fact, as she was leaving Marquette, one of her professors wrote her a letter of recommendation where he commented that she had written the best investigative journalism piece of the year. He applauded her tenacity and her ingenuity in finding ways to truly dig in and get the information she needed to tell the story. We tell these stories to our students today because they're the very same practices we hope they will carry on when they graduate. One of the things that I think of when I think of Eileen is not just that she can tell a good story and get the information, but that she also knows as we engage in the practice of journalism, we've got to keep a watch on its standards and evaluate how we're doing. And she is a leader in these conversations. When I first met Eileen, we didn't waste any time. We jumped right in to talk about what's happening with the press. What do our students need to be thinking about? What's next? How can we adapt to a changing world while continuing to maintain the same standards that have carried journalism through to today? I have no doubt that these are the conversations she will continue to lead in this role. And we know here in Milwaukee, we'll certainly be following along to hear what she has to tell us. So congratulations to Eileen. We're so proud of you. Ring out Ahoya, go Marquette.
Congratulations, Eileen, on your inauguration as president of the National Press Club. It's a fitting role for a dedicated leader and journalist like yourself at a landmark institution. I'm sure I speak on behalf of the entire copy editing team at Axios when I say I am proud to work with you and I can't wait to see all that you'll accomplish in your term.
Good evening. Could everybody who considers themselves a friend of Eileen's please raise your hand and wave? Isn't that something? Who has so many friends? Eileen does. You know she's not showy or loud and doesn't seek attention. At parties she works the oven, not the crowd. She's smiling and laughing and asking you about yourself as she pulls another tray of snacks out of the oven so even the late arrivals can eat. In conversation, she focuses on others and is attentive even as she briskly gets things done while guests tell long stories about how busy they are. In the next morning, she's up and working before sunrise, never complaining even though she works for Nick and is married to Carrie. Eileen doesn't seek the spotlight, so this speech must be excruciating for her. I mean, even if it were well written. Eileen isn't just diligent and thoughtful, she is kind and caring. That's why she has enough friends inside and outside the media companies to fill a stadium. Those of us who value journalism should feel lucky that Eileen has added leadership of this vital organization to her to-do list. Thank you.
Hello, Eileen. Congratulations. Omedetou gozaimasu. This is great news to me and my friends who know you. As far as I know, no one from among the Tokyo Press Club members has become the president of the National Press Club. So you are the very first person who achieved this honor. Years ago, we both wrote for BNA in Washington from Japan. while you were working in Tokyo between 1994 and 1996. We split the beats and coordinated for covering a wide array of topics, such as Japanese environmental regulations and government politics. To do that, we met at the Foreign Correspondents Club bar. At the time, I thought your capacity of coordination and cooperation and compromising, which I call as human interaction triple C, or WA in Japanese, was superb. It worked for us, so I'm sure you can do the same at the National Press Club. Journalism around the world is at the crossroads, and I think press clubs like yours and FCCJ can play a more important role for promoting honest, unbiased, in-depth reporting work. So your work as the president is more important than ever. Good luck and enjoy your work. I am Toshio Aritake, a lumberjack taking down trees in Japanese mountains. I wrote for BNA, Bloomberg, and other media entities over the years.
Hey, this is Derek Wallbank. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you in person at the National Press Club to celebrate the inauguration of my good friend, Eileen O'Reilly. You know, being out here in Singapore, the National Press Club has so much meaning, not just in the United States, but all the way around the world. From press freedom fights, talking about doing good work for Jason Rezaian when he was imprisoned unjustly in Iran, to the work that the Press Club has done for journalists in Myanmar and the Philippines and China and so many other places. It's such vital work that we're doing. And as a member of the National Press Club in good standing all the way around the world, I can say there is nobody better at this moment to step up and help lead this important organization than Eileen. Eileen, I wish you nothing but the best. This is the right moment for you with your great skill sets to come in and really do some important things. I wish you absolute success in all that you do this year, and I look forward to coming back to the Reliable Source Bar and toasting a successful administration.
I'm Jim Vandehei, CEO of Axios.
I'm Mike Allen, co-founder of Axios.
Eileen, the National Press Club and Axios, we're all so lucky to have you as a leader carrying the torch on ethics, on standards, on high achievement, on making sure that the journalism we produce lives up to the expectation of the reader. I think it's a clarion call for us at Axios. It's a clarion call for everybody in media.
Yeah, Eileen O'Reilly, as the Axios managing editor of standards and training, has been the rarest of journalists, somebody who is both the keeper of the flame of the highest traditional standards, but also an innovator and a pioneer. So Eileen, A, thank you, and B, we now can say, as so many people have been waiting to say, congratulations, Madam President.
Yes, indeedy. Congratulations, congratulations. So we're going to take a break now so you can enjoy the fabulous meal we're about to have. If you've taken a look at your program, you'll see that dessert is, it's going to be a volcano. It's one step up from Snaxios at Axios. Oh yeah, I got to get in those Axios jokes. Enjoy your meal. Hello, folks. Keep on enjoying your meal. Okay, so I guess I need to try a little harder to get your attention. Hi, Dr. Fauci. How you doing? Good to see you, sir. Okay, so keep on enjoying your meal because, man, that's some good food. That's salmon and asparagus and all that, but we're going to keep the party going because we're running just a little bit behind, and we believe in being prompt here at the club. So let me bring up some folks that know Eileen best. I want to welcome to the stage Jacqueline Schwab, who is the owner and president of Honest Components, and Kim McGregor, editorial director and executive speechwriter at North Central College. Both are great friends of Eileen from her days at Marquette University. Kimberly was one of Eileen's editors at the Student Magazine, and Jackie has remained one of Eileen's best friends, dish, since her days at Marquette. I want to know. We can only hope that both of these ladies will dish away. So Jacqueline and Kim, come to the stage.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Schwab.
And I'm Kim McGregor.
So Eileen and I met in college at Marquette University. I was her roommate.
And I worked with Eileen as a student reporter.
If you had told us back then that one day, 30 plus years in the future, we would give a speech to honor Eileen as she became the president of the National Press Club, we would have said, yeah,
100%.
absolutely,
Yeah,
100%,
absolutely.
no question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I met Eileen sophomore year. When I walked in her dorm room, she was studying. I wanted to introduce myself. She was studying, her head down. She didn't say much. I wasn't sure if we would really become friends. I'm pretty talkative. Then her friends told me that when she's not studying, she's quite a blast. She even fancies wine and whiskey, sometimes a little too much. They even said she can be a rebel. I thought, rebel? I'm in. So as life happens, we instantly became best friends, and we remain so to this day.
So Eileen and I met while working for the college newspaper, the Marquette Tribune, which itself has a storied history. So Marquette's College of Journalism was established in 1915, and its alumni list is long and distinguished. During our era, the basement of Johnston Hall, the oldest building on campus, is where sun-deprived and sleep-deprived students produced a newspaper 4 days a week, people. We were in college. And as Milwaukee city buses rumbled by outside, the building would shake slightly, and we'd be in the basement. That did not break our concentration. We were aspiring journalists, so we were hunkered over. We did not have Macs that you saw there on the screen. We were hunkered over glowing video display terminals. Some of this is going to bring back memories for some of you folks. We had battleship gray metal desks. We were writing and rewriting over those desks, and there were lots of pens and pizza boxes and empty Coke bottles strewn about, and so much paper. This was before desktop publishing, so across the hall from the newsroom was where paste-up production happened into the night, wee hours. The light tables, wax machines, and X-Acto knives communally shared, the typesetter churning out stories and sheets. We were surrounded by peers with talent, smarts, and hustle, but mostly a driving desire to learn. What set Eileen apart was that she blazed a new trail. She was the paper's first reporter dedicated to multicultural issues, covering stories that in the late 1980s were not being told. She was often on the front page, sometimes twice in one edition.
So we reached out to some of Eileen's journalism peers from Marquette, and everyone, by the way, is so proud of her. Greg Borowski, now Milwaukee Journal Sentinel deputy editor, recalls that Eileen was, quote, a journalist ahead of her time. He said, quote, she took on a new beat, one without any particular history, and made it her own. tackling serious subjects, one that were not only in the news, but exceedingly important to the people she was writing about. She wrote these stories with care and sensitivity, and probably faced more hurdles in building trust than we ever knew.
One example occurred early senior year. The summer before, in June 1989, the world watched in horror as images came out of Beijing, the Tiananmen Square protests and massacre. That August, as incoming editor of our student magazine, I asked Eileen to write a story about those events from the perspective of Marquette students who were from China. The story she produced was the best all year. Eileen found and interviewed sources, then told their story in a way that brought faraway cries for freedom home to our campus. Marquette is a Catholic Jesuit university. Students and alumni are challenged to be the difference. With service at the root of her work, Eileen has answered that call.
So as her roommate, I saw Eileen's work ethic. As she juggled classes and being a student journalist, she was dedicated to her coursework. On one occasion, we were studying for finals, and this is how dedicated she was. We were drinking coffee and Mountain Dew nonstop for hours, trying to stay up, not falling asleep. We just need to keep studying. We have these exams to do. And all of a sudden, I look at Eileen, and she starts talking with her eyes open, and I couldn't understand what she was saying. She was asleep with her eyes open. True story. To this day, I couldn't believe that she did that, but she did. I also saw her play ethic, as at weekends at Marquette were the best. We share memories of blasting music, singing and drinking cheap champagne while getting ready to go out at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. You might have all remembered those days. So I would do Eileen's hair really big, remember back in the day? And you could smell the Aquanet hairspray about a mile away every time we went out. So she also, this is the best, she loved to rile me regarding my favorite team, the Chicago Bears. I'm from Chicago. Yes, 1985. But she'd rile me all the time about Chicago Bears. But then I would always ask her favorite team, the Cleveland Browns, have they ever won a Super Bowl? I don't think they ever have. So, anyway, you can tell how much you love someone. You can tell how much someone means to you by how long you wait for them. And Eileen can sometimes be, well, late. I waited for her on this particular day, and we almost completely missed our Marquette University graduation. Thank you, Eileen. Eileen has been happily married to Carrie for nearly 30 years, almost 30 years. Woo! She has helped raise their 3 beautiful children, now right here, adults, all while continuing to further her career. She has lived throughout the United States, Japan, Singapore, and Switzerland. But I will tell you this, no matter where she was around this earth, she always checked in with me to see what was new with me. She never, ever put our friendship on hold, ever. Eileen has completed 10 marathons. 10 marathons. Her strength and determination are unprecedented. In conversation, Eileen actively listens. I've seen this many, many years, for many years. She truly cares about what people say and what they mean. She does her research, she is confident, and she is intentional in her actions. Eileen, you are the smartest, nicest, and bravest person I know. You're 100% honest with me, whether I want to hear it or not, and I can always trust you no matter what. I am so, so proud of you. Congratulations, Eileen, and congratulations to all the members of the National Press Club on such choosing a fine leader for your year ahead. Thank you.
was awesome. I need some friends like that. Now I'd like to introduce Margaret Tolive. Did I get that right, Margaret? Okay, good. Margaret is the director of the Democracy, Journalism, and Citizenship Institute at Syracuse University here in Washington, D.C., and Axios senior contributor. Margaret and Eileen worked together on many of the biggest investigative stories from her team. Both believe strongly in freedom of the press, and both are, shall we say, whiskey and bourbon lovers. Margaret, the floor is yours.
Lisa said, "Don't worry, you're gonna do great." I was like, no, this is not for courage, it's for later in this discussion, so. Good evening, everyone. It's so great to see so many friends from like too many decades of journalism in Washington here tonight. Good evening, I am Margaret Tolive. I would love to tell you about my new institute at Syracuse here in Washington, and I hope you'll all pull me aside afterwards, but let's save that for another night. This is Eileen's night, and I am so thrilled for her. Before my current role, I've spent the last 3 years as the managing editor for political coverage at Axios, and I had the great privilege of working very closely with Eileen in that role on a lot of extremely sensitive stories, literally all hours of the day and night, literally 7 days a week. There was the pandemic, there was George Floyd, there were the past 2 elections, there was the invasion of Ukraine, there were Americans detained and imprisoned abroad, and a ton of hot scoops and a ton of extreme deadlines. One of the hats I wore at Axios was being Jonathan Swan's editor. And in that role, Eileen and I truly bonded over texts and phone calls. Sometimes pre-dawn, often after midnight. You guys all know this, but Eileen can come across at first as really unassuming, as really gentle and mild-mannered, but it's just an act. She's a total killer. Jonathan Swan is a phenomenal journalist, but for anyone who's ever read a Swan scoop, they're insanely detailed, they're vividly colorful, they're always provocative, and they're generally built on at least dozens of recollections from anonymous sources. And the source approval conversations, if I were going to pull back the curtain, which I'm not because I've only had one of those, would blow your mind, but Eileen knows, and Sarah Gu knows, and Nick knows, a lot of people in this room know. Another trait of Jonathan Swan scoops is that his stories tend to be really long, like really long, longer than that book. In fact, his longest work at Axios was a series that you may have read or read part of called Off the Rails. It was like 50,000 words. It was like 50,000 words, maybe longer. It was a 10-part serial that focused on the unraveling of Donald Trump in the final weeks after his 2020 election loss. And one day, I stayed up for 21 hours straight working on one of those stories, and Eileen was with me all the way. Even when I was sure that I had buttoned down every word, she always found new questions. She always made catches. She always found ways to make it better. As Dr. Fauci knows, as many people in this room know, Eileen also is a science and health reporter, a very talented one, and her skills illuminated Axios' coverage of COVID. Her reporting skills also inform her editing. She is deeply ethical. What does the standard editors do? Standards editor, see, I just edited myself. What does the standards editor do? For Eileen, it's not just the copy editing, although she copy edits with a microscope. It's facts down to what color the pills were I was looking through texts as I was trying to refresh my memory to make these remarks, and I found this old text chain where we had like a 20-minute conversation about describing accurately with grammar and style the color of pills that were being described in a headline, and raising red flags about any assertions that can't be independently verified. It's about weeding out innuendo in a story, especially snarky innuendo, getting the tone right, being sensitive to all of the voices and motives and equities in a story, when to loop in colleagues who can bring their own experiences to bear, when to loop in the lawyers. And for Eileen, it's about fairness and trustworthiness and the protection of journalists' rights and safety and public access to facts and to news at the national and local level. You are a vigorous advocate of press freedoms, of press training, of public education. You are the perfect journalist to lead the National Press Club. While we were editing Off the Rails together, I also learned that we share a great affinity for bourbon, whiskey, and rye. But during that time, we spent a lot of time talking about how great it would be to have a drink. Like, God, I would love to just have a drink right now. But we did not actually spend a lot of time drinking. I know we never did. We'd just be like, oh my God, I'd love to take a bourbon break, and then we never did it. But tonight, I am gonna raise my glass of bourbon to you and to all of the National Press Club. Congratulations.
Oh, yes, the bourbon. Get down on the bourbon. Thank you so much, Margaret. Next up, we have the first gentleman himself. Yeah. So Carrie and Eileen met in DC, and as Eileen says, they were competing and supporting each other for decades. So let's welcome to the stage Joseph C. O'Reilly II, also known to all of us at the Press Club as Carrie.
All right, wow. How's that for an introduction? So the theme of Eileen's inauguration is standards and style. I look around the room tonight and I see you've all embraced the style very well, or at least as well as journalists can possibly do. Our communications members, I must say, always look great. So you look fantastic, Dr. Fauci. Eileen, beautiful. So, oh, wait, I almost forgot my sash. Hold on. It's mandatory. It's not something I'd choose. So, and speaking of people with style, how about Eileen's parents, Jack and Elaine Drage, who are here tonight? This year they'll be celebrating their 65th wedding anniversary. So, I think that's the Cobalt anniversary, right, Jack? Is that's okay? So we've got style down, and how about standards? In this age of, speaking of style, we should all take a moment and check out that Chinese spy balloon. And we're dressed appropriately. I just wanted to point that out. So, in this age of straight up lying by members of Congress, alternative facts, relentless attacks on the media, and ChatGPT, having standards to guide us is more important than ever. About a year ago, the New York Times asked its readers what standards they live by. Some respondents spoke of their faith, of the Jesuit tradition of service for others, for example. Others cited Stoicism or other schools of philosophy. Christy McRae of Columbus, another wise Ohioan, had this to say: Many people live by the golden rule: treat others as you wish to be treated. But I've come to follow the platinum rule. There's a lot of metals in this thing, which is to treat others as they wish to be treated. Doing so requires a willingness to learn about others' lives. It asks us to consider how others may experience the world in ways that are unfamiliar to us, and to be inclusive of experiences that are different from our own. Eileen has the platinum standard down pat. It's the standard she lives by. Jack and Elaine taught her well. Let's call it the Cobalt standard. How about that? No one I've ever met listens more carefully to others, as Jackie and others mentioned, seeking to understand their point of view. It informs her reporting, her relationships, and her critical role as standards editor at Axios. It also makes her a superlative wife, daughter, sister, cousin, friend, and mother, and it will serve her well as your president. These are perilous times for our profession and in our world. Some people flatly refuse to empathize. Others deny the results of verified elections or promote untested treatments for dangerous diseases. Books are being banned. Russia uses propaganda and lies to try to divert attention from its brutal assault on Ukraine. Saudi Arabia is spending billions on sports to try and make the world forget about the murder of Washington Post reporter Jamal Khashoggi. We won't forget. While compromise and empathy are badly needed today, our leaders of important institutions like this one also must be resolute in refusing to succumb to political pressures and let nothing stand in the way of the truth. Your new president, I can say from experience, is a woman of iron will and the highest standards. Quick story for you. After college, Eileen worked for a time for newspapers in Milwaukee and Cleveland, and then set her sights on Washington, D.C. A friend told her about the Oil Daily Company and this guy she met who knew about a job there. That guy was me. I'd like to say I was a huge help in setting up the interview, coaching her on what to say, and that she was dazzled by my obvious charm and good looks. That's not what happened. In my defense, I was a busy young go-getter with an important column to write about natural gas in Canada. I think she called me twice, and both times I asked her to call me back later. Not my best move. Did that stop Eileen? No way. She secured the interview on her own, aced it, of course, and got her career going in Washington, all without no thanks to me. And then I got to meet her a few weeks later. Oops. It was my turn to be dazzled, and I've been dazzled ever since. Eileen, as you all know, is a beautiful, talented, determined woman of deep empathy and fierce determination. I can say without doubt or any possible bias that she's the right person to protect and defend this great club and promote our profession when it needs it most. Here's to you, Eileen. I'm looking forward to our Cobalt anniversary in 2059.
That's awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Now let's welcome to the stage Eileen's direct boss, the big kahuna, editor-in-chief at Axios, Sarah Keolani-Gu.
Wow, thank you. Good evening. It's so great to hear all these stories. I feel like we're walking through Eileen's entire life. Well-deserved. So at Axios, you may have heard by now, we're known for smart brevity. So I feel like to start this speech, I need to tell you that Tonight's smart brevity is 580 words and will be about 5 minutes. So hang in there, guys. It's a really honor to be here and to celebrate someone who's so important to Axios. You know, Eileen is our managing editor for standards and training, and many of you may not know that she's one of the first hires at Axios. Axios did not exist 6 years ago, and I may tell you that, like, news startups are a thing. They're a weird thing. They're a crazy thing. I was talking with our publisher, Nick Johnston, who's here tonight, who was here on day 0, that he told me that he used to have this little notepad where he'd write like all the things you need to do to start a news organization. And the first line was, write a style guide. But the thing is, he actually didn't need to get around to it because he hired Eileen as our first Axios copy editor. So she did it. But that's not all she did. She not only did that, but she hired all of our copy editors from coast to coast. She is our guiding light for everything we need to know when she keeps us on the straight and narrow, and was foundational to any newsroom needs to have that from day one, and we were very lucky to have you at that very central role. Today, the Axios newsroom is now 200 journalists strong. And on some days, we send as many as 50 newsletters. And I can tell you that every single one has Eileen's imprint on it. Copy editors are sometimes not the most celebrated. They're not on TV. They don't get the glory. They don't actually seek the glory. And it's an honorable job just for that reason. It's a quiet, humble, important role. We owe Eileen so much of our gratitude for our success as a young news company. But the bigger picture, which her husband touched on, is that this is serious business too. There are really, really fraught times now for our profession. Politicians call us enemies of the state. Foreign governments and internet troublemakers will try to delegitimize our reporting. And of course, online platforms have successfully confused a lot of people with a lot of misinformation. So make no mistake, we're still in a time of great challenge of our democracy, where people don't know where to go for information that they can trust. And that is a big reason why we started Axios 6 years ago. So I think it's particularly poignant and important that the National Press Club has chosen this year someone like Eileen, whose entire role is focused on the fundamental tenets of journalism, which is delivering information that's factual and trustworthy, and demanding that journalists follow the rules and ethics of their craft. At Axios, as Margaret said earlier, Eileen is like our conscience. When we're working through a difficult story, whether it's about sourcing or about data, or a new product idea or a sponsorship question, we know that we can go to her as our gut check. We call her, and we know that behind the sweet smile, we hear that little skepticism in her voice. Or on the Zoom, I can see her glance in her eyes behind the glasses that I know she keeps us on the straight and narrow. And so it's been very valuable to have that expertise and unflagging sense of ethics to help us navigate what's right and wrong. The National Press Club is truly lucky to have her in this role. And in true Axios Smart Brevity style, let me conclude my remarks with a few things that may sound familiar. Why it matters. Journalism done right is foundational to our democracy, and Eileen is one of the great torchbearers of our profession, holding us to the highest standards. And be smart. Let's all celebrate Eileen tonight. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Sarah. And now, without further ado, let me introduce our special guest this evening, who will do the honors of administering the oath of office. I like to call him America's physician. Yeah, my shoulder still hurts from my Fauci ouchie. Yeah. Dr. Anthony Fauci served as NIAID director from 1984 to 2022, overseeing an extensive research portfolio. He has been the leading public health voice during the COVID-19 pandemic and the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden. During his career, Dr. Fauci has led the federal response to all major disease outbreaks over the last 40 years, including HIV/AIDS, Ebola, SARS, Zika, anthrax, oh my goodness. He was also known as the architect of one of the most successful disease prevention programs in the world, the President's Emergency Plan for Aid Relief, PEPFAR, a program that addresses the global HIV/AIDS epidemic. Begun in 2003 under President George W. Bush, PEPFAR is estimated to have saved the lives of 21 million people. Dr. Anthony Fauci has advised 7 different presidents and has been a frequent guest and speaker at many National Press Club programs over the years. Please, let's give him a huge Fauci ouchie round of applause.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. No. Please, thank you. So it's really wonderful to be here. Good evening, everyone, and warm greetings to you all. It's really a great pleasure. Eileen, I am really honored and pleased to be here tonight to celebrate you and your election to the presidency of this extraordinary institution, the National Press Club. This honor speaks to your many fine qualities, some of which we've heard tonight from your friends, but from my standpoint, it's your professionalism, your hard work, and the confidence that your peers have in your ability to lead this highly respected organization during these extraordinarily challenging times. So here in the United States, I'm telling this group here something they already know even better than I do, is that a free press is something that we often take for granted. Yet, as we daily navigate an environment which is saturated with information lacking any discerning guides or guideposts, it has become clear, certainly to me and what I've experienced over the last few years, that a free and fair press is truly the bedrock upon which our healthy democracy stands. I thought those were only words when I heard them as a young man in my early training, but now what we've gone through over the last few years makes me feel that this is truly a reality. I commend all of you in this room in the press corps for what you do every single day to support truth and transparency. I came to know Eileen really quite well, albeit virtually. I just met her personally for the first time after speaking to her maybe 100 times over the last 3 years, during many multiple phone call conversations that she and I had during some of the most intense periods of this historic COVID-19 pandemic. She consistently demonstrated that she was a credit to her profession. She asked important questions. She was not agenda-driven. She did not under or overestimate or emphasize. And when I told her something, her story inevitably got it right. And that was really a breath of fresh air from what we have been going through with social media. Now, I was fortunate enough to attend Regis High School in New York City, a Jesuit high school where I learned the fundamental Jesuit principles that have been tenets throughout my career: staying faithful to the truth, even truths that may be inconvenient. That got me in a little bit trouble there last administration. And communicating for understanding according to the adage, precision of thought and economy of expression. These and other Jesuit principles were then honed to an even greater extent during my 4 years at the College of the Holy Cross, another Jesuit institution. And so, in looking up Eileen's background, I was delighted to learn, as we've heard from her friends and roommates, that we have something in common, as she also was educated in the Jesuit tradition, having attended Marquette University in Minnesota. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, excuse me. Milwaukee. I know Marquette, they got a great basketball team. And thus, it does not surprise me that she manifests qualities that I spoke about earlier that have been pillars of my own life and career, and that I believe are equally important to her profession as a journalist as well. So in this regard, I want to give a shout out to the news organization that Eileen works for, and many of you in this room do, Axios. Because in this world of excessive information of varying quality and a surfeit of information platforms vying for everyone's attention, the Axios model of smart brevity gets you smarter, faster on what matters. There must be a Jesuit in there somewhere. That is just what the doctor ordered. It's really a balm for our frazzled minds. And as I described already, Eileen perfectly adheres to and reflects this fundamental precept of Axios. You all should be very proud of her as your standard bearer. Now, most recently, Axios has highlighted a bigger problem that exists and troubles me very deeply, and that is the erosion of truth, trust, safety, and sanity in the news. Sadly, this phenomenon found a foothold. It grew exponentially and now has roots in our country and around the world. Misinformation and disinformation not only have made the implementing and affecting public health response to the pandemic extraordinarily difficult, something that has been very painful to me personally, they pose fundamental threats to our democracy here and everywhere. And if anybody doesn't appreciate that, they're really not paying attention. And so in closing, and before we get to the important purpose of my being here tonight to swear Eileen in as your 116th president, let me close with a plea to all of you. Please firmly reject the normalization of untruths. I just cannot emphasize this point enough. It's in our collective responsibility to call misinformation and disinformation what they are. Not harmless chatter, but unsafe. If we are not clear-sighted and vigilant, we risk our society deteriorating into a way of life where veracity becomes subservient to propaganda rather than upheld as a guiding principle for creating and sustaining a just social order. So I know many of you, and yeah, no kidding. You know, I know maybe hearing that from a public health official, you might think, and I think appropriate, so why am I talking about that? It's because if ever there was a situation where misinformation and disinformation has a profoundly destructive effect, it's in the arena of public health, where people wind up either avoiding or even propagating against life-saving interventions based merely on misinformation, disinformation, and political ideology. So I know many of you and your news organizations have taken an active role in fighting this misinformation and disinformation, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the efforts in this regard. So now let us get on with making Eileen your official new president. So let's do that. Where's the words?
The words are here somewhere.
No, that's one.
Is it here? Is it here? Let's see. Hold on. Gotta be here somewhere.
Gotta get my lines,
Oh,
really?
wait. Yeah, get your lines. Okay.
Here we go. Okay. So,
All right.
all right, so come up here a little bit.
Here you go.
Okay.
All right, I'll take that. Thank you. All right, here we go. So hand on the smart brevity.
Both of us there?
Just you, I think.
I, Eileen O'Reilly,
I, Eileen O'Reilly,
promise to serve faithfully
promise to serve faithfully
as president of the National Press Club
as president of the National Press Club
and to execute all of the duties of the presidency.
and to execute all the duties of the presidency.
I promise to work vigorously
I promise to work vigorously
to strengthen the National Press Club
to strengthen the National Press Club
for the benefit of our members,
for the benefit of our members.
and I pledge to fight vigorously
And I pledge to fight vigorously
on behalf of freedom of information
on behalf of freedom of information
and freedom of the press
and freedom of the press
and for the protection of journalists everywhere.
and for the protection of journalists everywhere.
There you go. It's done.
All right.
Yes. Yes, indeedy. All righty. While we're at it, can we get another round of applause for Dr. Anthony Fauci? Amazing. So proud to have you here in the room. Now I want to welcome to the podium your immediate past president of the National Press Club, the woman I like to call Jen Javelin Johnson, for a toast. Jen Judson, come on up.
Thank you so much. This is to Eileen. You have been such a wonderful support system throughout my presidency as vice president, and I know you're going to do an absolutely wonderful job. The club in 2022 kind of came out of its pandemic coma, got his feet on the ground, and now I think we're ready to hit the ground running with you. And I know you're going to do a wonderful job. So here is to Eileen. Everyone raise your glass. And to a wonderful year. Cheers.
Okay, thank you, Jen. And now let's hear from your 116th National Press Club President, Eileen O'Reilly.
Wow. That was amazing and a little too much, Jackie, but anyway. I think you all know a little bit more about me than I am planned on, but so I am so honored to be here, and in this, spirit of smart brevity, I plan to be brief and hopefully smart. It is truly an honor to be here today as the 116th president of the National Press Club. It's very hard to match Lisa's flair, though. The 116th president of the National Press Club. Is that better? Speaking of which, can we please give a round of applause to our amazing MC, our 114th president, and our colleague from the Associated Press, Lisa Matthews. I can't describe the feelings from so many amazing in-person and videotaped well wishes. My heart was beating so fast, I was worried Dr. Fauci would have to show his medical skills. Thankfully, it didn't come to that, but thank you to Dr. Fauci, Sarah, Carrie, and our immediate past president, Jen Javelin Judson, and Margaret, Jackie, and Kim for all of you coming here today. I could not get to where I am now without all of you. And Carrie, of course. Speaking of thanks, I have many people in my life whom I'd like to thank. First, my parents, who have always supported me and supported my drive to do my best. I'm sure it wasn't easy having a teenager who latched onto her high school teacher's mantra of question authority at such an early age. But they've always encouraged me and are one of Axios' biggest fans. But all should be wary if a typo slips out, because my mom will be right on that. She will reach out to me and let us all know about it to fix it. So thank you, Mom and Dad. Thanks to my husband, Carrie, who is amazing in every way possible, and our 3 kids, Carrick, Animal, and Michael, who fill me up with love and pride each and every day. One of my brothers, Mike, and his family are here, and my brother-in-law, his wife, and 3 of my cousins as well. As you know, us Irish are very close. So thank you for coming and supporting me too. I wanted to thank the National Press Club staff, especially our executive director, Bill McCarran, our membership director, Kate Helster, and our events coordinator, Cecily Scott Martin, for pulling this entire program together. It's been powerful, beautiful, and delicious. Our executive chef, Mo Aguilera, did a fantastic job on the menu. Who else would pull together items from everywhere around the world? Brats from Milwaukee, Buckeye candies from Ohio, sushi from Japan, curry from Singapore, roasted potatoes from Switzerland. I told them it would be a challenge to have like to have one theme for someone like me who's been lucky enough to work in different places in the US and the world, but I totally met and crushed that challenge. All I can say is wow and thank you. Also, I'd like to remind you the National Press Club is a great place for events. All the staff are amazing. Last but not least, I would like to thank Axios, and in particular, our publisher, Nick Johnston. Where did he go? There you are. All right. He hired me almost 6 years ago, and I still remember him calling me to see if I might be interested in learning about this new media company. I wasn't sure. I loved what I was doing. I loved being my own boss. I was working on several projects that I liked, and it was March 15th, which is 2 days before St. Patrick's Day and our big party. So I was like, I don't know. And he was also talking about newsletters, and I was like, newsletters? So, but I went in to talk with him, and I met him and Mike Allen and Justin Green, and saw what they were trying to do, and I was like, heck yes. This is something new and exciting, and I've been loving it ever since. You've probably guessed by all my moves in different types of journalism jobs that I can get bored way too easily. Well, I haven't been bored at Axios once. If anything, we have the opposite problem. It's always exciting, always interesting, and I'm so happy to be part of such a great team of people who fight every day to reach the highest standards of journalism in our unique format that we call Smart Brevity. So thank you for believing in me, Nick, and then also hiring all these amazing people like Margaret and Sarah, who you heard from today. I will be honest, being in charge of standards at Axios can be very tough sometimes. It can keep you awake at night. For instance, is it time to formally switch from Kanye West to Ye? I'm just kidding. That didn't keep me up at night, but there have been others that have kept me up late at night. And these are the ones that all newsrooms are dealing with. Because journalism, which I firmly believe represents the fourth estate and is an essential pillar of our democracy, may be facing some of the greatest threats it has ever seen. Because without solid, fact-based journalism, how will people know what is happening? How will they be able to make informed decisions that affect their life and the lives of others? Who will hold accountable our officials, our businesses, our landowners, our regulators? Who will dive into that 1,000-page budget document where you can find that tiny paragraph that demonstrates some of that money has been diverted? Who will risk their lives to take that video, the photo, or the quotes of the people under siege and wars who are just suffering in different parts of the US or globally? The world needs great journalists now more than ever. And we need them not only in the big cities, but in all the local communities. People are desperate for trustworthy content. As you know, we have way too many news deserts, not just in local areas, but in communities who are not covered by media well enough. But of course, they can still get the misinformation and disinformation that Dr. Fauci pointed out is rampant. And that, of course, is a big problem for our democracy. That was one reason I was so thrilled that Axios launched the local newsletters. Yes, newsletters. A couple years ago. We and others like us have started great strides to reach those newsletters. So, you have all heard how important my family is to me, my Axios team is to me, my Marquette community and my other friends are to me. Now I'm going to tell you why the National Press Club is important to me. We are the place where news happens because this is the place to be. You should see some of the events coming up, such as General Milley next week. but it is more than a gathering place where we can be fiercely competitive in the outside world and on this floor for news events, but then can sit up in the bar upstairs here and build community inside the club. The National Press Club has a mission to promote journalism as a public trust, to advocate for the free flow of information, and to provide a forum for discussion and debate. We must work together to restore trust by practicing ethical and responsible journalism, and by being transparent about our methods and our sources. We must advocate for a free press, both at home and abroad, and stand up against attempts to silence, suppress, or even kill journalists who seek to uncover the truth. And we will redouble our efforts to bring Austin Tice home. Austin Tice is an American journalist who's been missing for more than 10 years and is being held in Syria. I am here to ask all of you, whether you're a journalist or not, to please raise awareness over his plight. If you don't have a pin to wear, like this one, grab one from the middle of the table and wear it. Post pictures of yourself by the countdown clock in the lobby or by the sign outside the front of the building. Use hashtag #FreeAustinTice and bring Austin home. And if you are a journalist, keep pressing this administration to start a dialogue with Syria. As honored and humbled as I am to get that letter from President Biden, if they can't keep their promise to the Tice family to try and engage Syria, it will simply be a very nice piece of paper. I don't want to have another National Press Club president to have to talk about Austin, except to toast him in person after he's returned home. Everyone, we have a lot to do, we have a lot to say, and we have a lot to fix in this world, but I am confident we are up to the task. Just a look around me here. I am very heartened and happy to see that we have a mix of liberals and conservatives, of journalists and non-journalists, all here together in support of the National Press Club and its mission. Together we can meet our challenges and help journalism emerge stronger than ever. I'd like to raise one more glass, well, before we head out to the dance floor, to all of us here and to the Fourth Estate. Cheers.
Yes, indeedy weedy. We are so thrilled and privileged to have you, Eileen, and I'd like to just take one more opportunity to thank our sponsors this evening. Axios, Murray & Murray, Bloomberg, the Drage family, Bell Flight, Home Health Connection, Marquette University, Taiwan's representative office in Washington, D.C., the Associated Press, GM Defense, and General Dynamics. I will tell you that that completes our program tonight, but the party is just getting started. I hope you'll join me and President O'Reilly for continued celebrations in the Holman Lounge. Thanks for coming out tonight, everybody.